He was barely more than a shadow when they found him. A bundle of bones wrapped in thinning fur, shaking, starving, and silent. His ribs jutted out like the frame of a broken umbrella, and his eyes. Oh, his eyes still shined. Not with fear, not even with pain, but with something deeper. A desperate, fading hope. It was a rainy Thursday morning when Claire took the long way home. Her heart was heavy from a week that hadn't let up. Job stress, bills piling up, and a loneliness that followed her like a cold draft in an old house. She hadn't planned to stop. She wasn't looking to save anyone. But something caught her eye as she turned onto the gravel path near the abandoned mill. At first, she thought it was just trash, ripped bags, maybe a torn coat someone tossed. But then it moved. Barely. Claire hit the brakes. Her windshield wipers kept rhythm with her heartbeat as she stepped out. The wind whipped her hair across her face, and the cold bit into her skin, but all she could see was him. He was curled tightly beside a dumpster, trying to disappear into the concrete. Mud covered his paws. His nose bled. But those eyes met hers, and they didn't look away. "Hey, sweetheart," Claire whispered, kneeling slowly. "Oh my God, what happened to you?" He didn't growl, didn't run. He just stared, as if somehow he knew she was different. Claire reached into her bag and pulled out the granola bar she was saving for lunch. She peeled it slowly, breaking off a piece. Her hand trembled. "Come on, baby. It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." He sniffed, hesitated, then took the piece delicately. His tongue brushed her fingers, and in that single fragile touch, Claire felt something break, and something else begin to heal. She wrapped him in her coat, not caring that it would ruin it. As she lifted him, he barely weighed more than a backpack. His bones poked through her jacket. She cradled him like a child. "Let's get you home." The vet was blunt. "He's severely malnourished. Dehydrated. He's got infections, possibly mange. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are broken bones. It's a miracle he's still alive." Claire swallowed hard. "Can he make it?" The vet looked at her. "It's going to take everything. But if he fights, we'll fight too." She named him Oliver. The first night was the hardest. He whimpered in his sleep, twitched violently. When she touched him gently, he cried out, then immediately went quiet, afraid of punishment that never came. Claire sat beside him on the floor, whispering lullabies to a soul that had likely never known peace. Every day after that was a battle. Syringes, warm baths, antibiotics, careful feeding. There were setbacks. Days when he refused to eat. Nights when his fever spiked. But he always looked at her with those eyes, as if to say, "I'm still here. Don't give up on me." And she never did. One cold morning, a week after he came home, Claire woke up to the softest pressure against her hand. Oliver was standing. Wobbly. Weak. But standing. His tail wagged once. Just once. And Claire burst into tears. "Oh my God, you're trying," she whispered. "You're actually trying." From then on, he improved in inches. A few more steps each day. A little more food. His fur began to grow back in soft patches. His eyes never dulled. Not once. One afternoon, a neighbor stopped by and peeked into the living room. "Is that the dog from the mill?" she gasped. "I didn't think he'd make it." Claire nodded, running her fingers through Oliver's mending fur. "Neither did I. But he did." The woman stared for a moment. "How?" Claire smiled. "Because he chose to. And someone finally chose him." But just when things started to feel okay, something unexpected happened. Claire came home one evening to find Oliver staring at the door, stiff, tail frozen. Not in fear. Not in excitement. But as if he sensed something she couldn't. She stepped closer. "What is it, Ollie?" He didn't move. And then, from outside, the sound came. Slow footsteps. Deliberate. Too heavy to be familiar. Claire's blood went cold. Oliver growled. And that was the first time he ever made a sound. To be continued. Claire's fingers trembled as she reached for the door handle. Outside, the wind had stilled, and the air felt unnaturally quiet, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Oliver stood rooted beside her, no longer growling, but alert. Watching. Then a knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Claire swallowed. Her heart pounded in her chest, and 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. Was it someone from Oliver's past? Someone who had hurt him? She peeked through the side window. A man stood there, wrapped in a dark coat, his face shadowed by the porch light. "Can I help you?" she called out, her voice steady despite the fear in her chest. The man looked up. His expression was unreadable. "I saw your flyer. About the dog." Claire hesitated. She hadn't posted anything. Not yet. I think you've got my dog, he added, his tone firm, almost rehearsed. Oliver backed up, ears flat, tail low. He whimpered. Not out of pain, but out of memory. Claire's breath caught. I'm sorry, but he's not yours. He was abandoned. Dying. I found him near the old mill. The man stepped forward. His name's not Oliver. It's Max. And he's mine. Claire shook her head. No. He's not your anything. Not anymore. The man's face darkened. You stole him. That word sliced through her like a blade. But Oliver stepped between them, placing himself in front of her legs, fragile but fierce. Claire squared her shoulders. Call the police then. Show them proof. Show them medical records. Microchip. Anything. Otherwise you need to leave. The man stared at her, jaw clenched. And then, without another word, he turned and walked away into the night. Claire didn't sleep that night. Neither did Oliver. She stayed beside him on the couch, stroking his fur. I've got you, she whispered. No one's taking you from me. The next morning, she called the vet and requested a full scan. No microchip. No registration. Nothing to link him to anyone. He was legally, and more importantly, emotionally, hers. But the encounter shook something loose in Claire. Questions she hadn't wanted to ask. What had Oliver endured before he collapsed by that dumpster? How long had he been someone's property? And what had they done to him? Days passed. Claire changed her walking routes, installed a camera by the door, and alerted her neighbors. But the man never returned. Instead, Oliver began to. Piece by piece, moment by moment. He started sleeping through the night. He nudged her hand when he was hungry. He barked, not often, but enough to surprise them both. And one day, when she came home from work, he greeted her with his tail wagging like a slow, joyful pendulum. She laughed, crouching down to kiss his nose. Look at you, Ollie. You're starting to trust the world again. She started documenting his journey. Photos, videos, updates. And to her surprise, people listened. She created an Instagram page, and soon thousands were following his recovery. Messages poured in from all over the world. His eyes say everything. Thank you for not giving up on him. He reminds me of the dog I lost. Thank you for giving me hope. But it wasn't just strangers who noticed. Her brother Sam, who she hadn't seen in years, reached out. He lived 3 towns over. I saw your dog's story on Facebook, he said, voice soft with something close to pride. Claire, that's amazing. You're amazing. She smiled. I'm just trying to do something good. You always did. You just forgot how. He visited the next weekend, bringing treats for Oliver and memories for Claire. They sat on the porch and talked late into the night, laughter echoing through the chilly air. You're changing, Claire, he said, watching Oliver sleep by her feet. You look lighter, happier. She nodded, eyes misty. He saved me too, Sam, in ways I didn't know I needed. Oliver wasn't just recovering. He was healing her too. Weeks turned to months. His fur was nearly all back, his body stronger, his steps steadier. And one afternoon, Claire took him to the lake for the first time. The sun glittered on the water. Birds chirped. Oliver stared at the vastness, unsure. Go on, she encouraged. It's okay. You're free now. He stepped forward slowly, then faster, until he was bounding into the shallows, splashing and barking, alive with joy. Claire laughed, tears running down her cheeks. The sound of his happiness was the most beautiful thing she'd ever heard. But as she sat watching him, a shadow crossed the path behind her. Someone was watching. And this time, she wasn't sure if they would walk away so easily. To be continued. Claire turned quickly, heart pounding. A tall woman stood just beyond the trees, hands in her coat pockets, eyes locked on Oliver. Not threatening, just watching. Hello, Claire called, standing. The woman stepped forward slowly. Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. I've been following his story online. I recognized him. That's Oliver, right? Claire hesitated. Yes, that's Oliver. The woman nodded, her expression softening. He used to live in our neighborhood. I remember him. He was always tied up outside. Never had shelter. I reported it, more than once. Nothing ever happened. Claire exhaled, her body finally relaxing. You knew him. Not well. But I knew he deserved better. We all did. I'm just glad someone like you found him. Claire smiled faintly, a knot in her chest slowly unraveling. Thank you. That means more than you know. They talked a little more before the woman left with a wave, promising to follow Oliver's updates and send over any photos she had from before. Closure, in its own small way, found its space. As autumn turned to winter, Oliver transformed. He ran through snow for the first time, nose buried in drifts, tail wagging like a flag. He curled beside the fireplace at night, paws twitching in dreams that finally looked peaceful. Claire, too, had changed. She no longer walked with her shoulders hunched, bracing for the next hard day. She stood taller, smiled more, opened her heart again, not just to Oliver, but to the world. People wrote in droves, stories of their own rescues, their losses, their healing. Claire responded to every one. She shared Oliver's progress with honesty, even the bad days. Because recovery isn't a straight line, and love never demands perfection. One evening, as the first snow began to fall, Claire looked at the couch where Oliver now rested. His eyes met hers, those same glowing eyes from the very first day. Eyes that once shimmered with fragile hope. Now they shined with peace. She sat beside him, stroking the soft fur behind his ears. "You made it, baby. You really made it." His tail thumped once. He didn't need to move much. His eyes said it all. In the months that followed, Claire launched a small nonprofit, Shining Eyes Rescue, named after him. Focused on the forgotten animals, the ones no one else saw. Her story with Oliver became the catalyst. Volunteers joined. Donations poured in. Dogs, cats, even a blind goat found hope in her care. Oliver watched each new arrival like a wise older brother. He greeted them gently, never pushy. Always kind. As if he remembered, better than anyone, what it felt like to be alone. Years passed. Oliver grew older, slower. His face grayed. His steps shortened. But his eyes, they never lost that shine. One spring morning, Claire found him in his favorite spot by the window. Peaceful. Still. As if he had waited for the sun to rise before letting go. She knelt beside him, tears falling freely. "Thank you," she whispered, "for everything." He left this world as he had lived his last years, loved. Claire buried him under the oak tree in her yard, wrapped in the coat she had used to carry him home that first day. A simple stone marked the spot. He was just skin and bones, but his eyes still shined. And they always would. Oliver's story lived on. In every rescue saved, in every soul that dared to hope, and in every eye that, against all odds, still shined. The end.